What is up, everybody, and welcome to Knifecast Episode 2. Today, we are really excited to bring you guys an episode all about notable new knife models for 2018. My name is Tyler, aka Tovarish Gaming, and I'm joined by Frank, aka Dr. Frunkey.
Hey, what's up, guys?
And Josh, aka Echo Does Knives.
Hey, everybody.
So we're just going to go ahead and jump into it today. Normally we'd recap any previous topics, but that's not really relevant for episode 2. Let's go ahead and jump into what we carried today. Personally, I was off and I didn't really leave the house or do much, but I carried my Gavco spinner yesterday and I used that today around the house. So that's the Custom Knife Factory collab that was modified by Thai Spectrum. Frank, what were you carrying?
Today I actually carried my 3.25-inch Gareth Bull Chamois. I actually have one on the way right now. I was lucky enough to pick up one of the new 3.5-inch models, and he said it shipped, so I carried this in anticipation of that. I actually used this to cut off a hospital gown today. Fact.
Interesting. Wow. That's a heck of a knife, man. What about you, Josh?
Yeah. And it works.
I carried a Gavco one-off. It's a smaller, non-flipper version of what looks like to me the Tiger. So I really like that thing.
Nice, man.
Cool.
So we're going to go ahead and jump into it, guys. I'm going to kick things off. So what we've done here is we've each chosen our top 3 picks for a new model that's coming out in 2018. In addition to that, we've all selected one wild card, which is going to be picking a maker rather than a particular model, in anticipation of essentially hoping that they come out with a new model. So it's somebody that we're sort of excited to see something new from, but we haven't actually heard anything about it. So I'll go ahead and jump in. I really quickly just wanted to mention 3 knives that were prototyped and designed in 2017, but are going to ultimately be 2018 models. And they're all 3 knives that I own. So it's the Larevo Knives Lattice, the JD Van Deventer Gold, which will be delivered in a couple weeks here, and the Collazo Knives Mini Bushido. All 3 of which are, the Lattice is number 001. It's the very first one that he made. There were like 5 prototypes in 2017, but that's going to be his new model throughout the year. I'm sure he'll bring some to Blade Show. And then the Gold is, of course, it was debuted at New York Custom Knife Show 2017, but the first run of 30 for the full size and the minis aren't being delivered until pretty much right now. And then the Mini Bushido from Collazo Knives, that's the first run. I think he made like between 3 and 6 of them. I'm not really sure. But in terms of my actual 3 picks, the first one is a new knife coming out from Will Moon. I don't think he's named the model yet, but interestingly, he just released a picture on Instagram today of one that was totally Frunkified. It was a carbon fiber frame with all green hardware, that super bright toxic green, and it looked absolutely sick. I really want it. And, you know, Will Moon's kind of known for his grinds, and he's been running that Mark model for God knows how long. And he's only had that one flipper model for the longest time. So it's really exciting to see something come out from him. It's kind of like a faux integral. It's 2 pieces connected together, but it looks like one solid piece. I imagine that's probably more hidden on the carbon fiber version than the supposedly aluminum version. But yeah, it's really cool that he's doing that. I'm pretty excited about that knife.
Yeah, that one looks really cool. I saw him post some pictures over the last few weeks, and I definitely saw the green and carbon fiber. That one looked awesome today. That knife, it sort of reminds me of like almost like the 0392 that I had like reground by Razor Edge Knives. You know, they both do really good grinds.
Yeah.
I think Will Moon's grinds are really beautiful. And on that knife, it looks really cool. The handle is like, I don't know, it's really unlike anything else. It's very unique, but it has a certain flair to it, almost like, I don't know, a ZT and a Shiro or something. But it's nicer than that, way nicer than that.
Yeah, it looks really good. It's very thick, which I like thick knives, so that's good for me. It is a sub-frame lock, which I'm not a huge fan of. That's just like a personal pet peeve. There's no good reason behind that. But, you know, it is what it is.
Well, he said today that he was definitely going to be doing it in 7076 aluminum and not titanium. So it's going to be aluminum handles with some kind of coating, and then carbon fiber handles with the titanium subframe line.
I would only be interested in owning the carbon fiber version. I think the CF version looked so much better than the other prototypes he's shown us.
I think the potential there is huge. Having recently, had an experience getting some carbon fiber to a maker, I think that making those carbon fiber handles the way he does opens up a lot of potential for some awesome knives.
Yeah, it's gonna be
the
sweet.
aluminum is very disappointing. Like, it might be, like you said, like a cost saving factor, but I don't know. Just aluminum in my knife, I don't like it. It just very cheap.
Well, no. The thing about it is, like, if it's structurally similar, like, we got to think about material science here. It's just something different. If it's structurally the same, I don't know, though. I don't know enough about metal to really know exactly if he claims that it's just as strong as titanium or stronger.
Right. And it's used in firearms, AR-15 pattern rifles. Everything in those are aluminum except for the bolt itself. So, I mean, it could be good, but it's one of those things is when you look at it and you hear the word, it's like when you hear, like, when you hear aluminum, you don't think of a high-quality custom piece unless it's a...
It just makes you think of, like, a cheaper production knife. No, I get you.
It's true.
I
totally
it's got a stigma to it, That's the only thing
I think it will cause that model to be a problem, but in carbon fiber or, whatever carbon fiber you get his hands on, it would be amazing.
Yeah, that's going to look great. He always does his grinds. Like, that's his signature thing to me. It's like when you see his grinds, they're really nice.
I totally asked him if he would send me one for beta testing. I hope he sends me that green and carbon fiber one.
Yeah, but you'll never send it back.
Yeah, I might just keep it. It looks awesome. Good call.
Yeah. So the next knife that I want to talk about is the Thorburn L51 Compact. Now, for those of you who don't know, the L51 is a rather large knife. It's often considered one of Andre's best flippers, especially in terms of the action. The L51s very consistently have some of the best actions that Thorburn's able to offer. But, it's bigger. And even though I don't mind owning a big Thorburn, which I already do with my L36M, but I certainly don't want to own two big Thorburns. And the A-squared A6 Mini was the belle of the ball all through sort of third and fourth quarter of 2017. So it'll be really interesting to see the L51 Compact come to life. One of the very first ones sort of weaseled its way onto Blade Gallery. I don't know really how that happened, but it sat there for a couple weeks. Somebody finally snapped it up. It was the same price as a full size. But Andre told me that he wanted to make me one, and I really want to own one. I think that was the perfect model to do a compact version of, and I just hope it's not too small. The A-squared Mini is a little bit, the A6 Mini is a little bit too small. I mean, I love it personally, but just kind of as a knife meant for the public, it's a little bit too small. So hopefully they don't make the same mistake with the L51 Compact, but that's definitely going to be one of the coolest knives that we see come from Thorburn this year for sure, and I expect to see them on the table at New York Custom Knife Show and maybe before.
How big is the blade supposed to be on that compact version?
I don't know. I'll have to go back to Blade Gallery and find that sold post, because it's been removed. It's probably archived, but I got to go find it.
Yeah, the original L51, that's like almost a 3.7-inch blade, really tall grind, really big blade in the hand and everything, in the pocket too, right? It's huge.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, if they would do like a 3.25 one, like we said, we don't know, we haven't checked.
It'd probably be closer to 3 inches.
3? You think so? Yeah,
that's where the A-square. The A6 Mini is, so it might be like 3.
What is this like? Is like L36 like small? Like that's one, right? Like that's a 3-inch, or is that where does that fall?
We'd have to ask Tactical Cardigan or whatever his name is.
Yeah, because his stuff like he has all these different names for like small, mini, mic, although they all change, and it's hard to keep up with them.
Well, sometimes. So for anybody who's worried about that, because I know a lot of people get thrown off by his modeling system, the gentleman over at African Custom Knives invested in building Andre a website. So you can go to andrethorburn.com and it will give you a full breakdown of all the measurements, all the names, sort of two-dimensional frameworks and outlines of every individual model alongside a photograph of a finished version. So anybody that's curious about his models has sort of the perfect resource at their fingertips.
That's pretty cool.
I'm going to do that right now.
There you go. The third knife that I had chosen is only in existence thanks to our very own Josh, and that's going to be the Goblin from Gavco Knives. Josh, why don't you tell us the story of how this model came to be?
So, I actually didn't have a hand in the model itself because I think he really liked it and he was going to bring it to the model, but I did have a hand in naming it the Goblin. For those of you guys that don't know, Mike names a lot of his knives after sharks. And I bought a one-off about a month ago, and him and I were talking over email, and he was telling me I really like this knife, and I told him it's like one of my favorites. Ergonomics are great. It's a slim blade. It flips very well. Like, it's got everything is just perfect. It's really, really well done. It's like one of my favorite ones. And I told him, I was like, if you're thinking about making this a knife and a named model, like the Goblin Shark is perfect for it because it looks just like the Goblin Shark's snout. So like the blade shape has that same silhouette. And he really liked it, and he's like, yeah, but I got to check and see if some people don't mind, because I know other people that have that name, and I guess they didn't mind because now it is out as the Gavco Goblin, and it's one of his more, to me, one of his more better ones. I know it's still new, and I got a part in it, but it's so streamlined.
You're not biased at all. You're not even.
No, I'm like on the far right bias scale, right? Yeah. So I don't know. I'm in love with it. I really am. It's such a cool thing, and I'm honored that he took my suggestion.
Well, I think it's cool. I think I'm excited to see what he does this year. I've got this green Timascus, this black Timascus trasher, and I love it. So I'm jealous. You've got an epic Gavco collection.
I fell off the deep end, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really cool way to kind of be inducted into that that maker's history, basically. So very cool, man.
You fell off the deep end into shark-infested waters.
Yeah, now I got to pick up a Goblin, like an actual named one, not this one-off. So he's just making me buy more knives.
There you go. It's all a ploy to get Josh's money.
That's right.
But yeah, I'm excited for that. He's going back to making a few Makos right now, and I definitely prefer to have the hole in the blade personally when it comes to a Gavco. But if I end up buying a non-hole in the blade knife from him this year, it'll probably be a Goblin. And of course, you gotta get it in that green electroanodized Timascus, because
it's so nice.
Then it's the Green Goblin. Like, give me a break.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
dude. You have to take that.
I have to own that.
And then I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah, you will, which will be perfect because I can't afford it. So my wild card is that I'm really interested to see something from Jeff of Tough Knives. He's been pumping out crazy models for the last couple of months, and just like one-ofs of new models. He'll do like 20, and they'll all be different. They're all gorgeous, and he's got all these kinds of crazy finishing techniques now, where he's doing that sort of hammered look with like polished anodizing, which is fucking crazy, and like he's just doing all kinds of cool stuff with fullers all over blades and really interesting stuff. So I really look forward to him just continuing to blow my mind with basically every single knife he makes. I've mentioned before that like his actions aren't very good. It just doesn't seem to be something that he focuses on or that he wants his knives to do in terms of like dropping freely and stuff. But that'll probably keep me out of that world from him. But I just like, of all the makers on Instagram, I think he probably has the most like saves from me, where like I want to go back and look at a knife. So yeah, I'd be interested to see what comes from him.
Well, he definitely is an interesting guy to keep an eye on. He made that Nakiri flipper recently. That was a really cool knife.
It's very nice.
And then he just released that knife, the Cylon, right? That's what it's called?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Cylon. And he had a couple of others, like you said, that hammered finish with the anodizing, and that might have been zirconium. And so
I think it was. Yeah, it was.
he's doing some
interesting
crazy stuff. Yeah, can you believe it had that color to it? It was Zerk.
Wow. Yeah, he's getting bronze and pink.
Cool stuff. Something else to pay attention to him is that he's got that mid-tech going on with Riot called Arcform.
Yes.
I know for a fact they've got a second model coming out. So, I mean, that may not be a custom from Jeff, but it's something that's coming out of his mind, basically, and it will be available this year. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, his designs just catch the eye, right? It's like when you see those, I mean, they're almost iconic. Like they just look so great.
Yeah.
Everything he makes, I haven't seen a knife that he's made yet that I was like, I don't like the design.
His silhouettes are
and he's like
yeah.
coming out with these new designs. Like it seems like every month he's got a new one. You know, like you said, he makes like 15.
Yeah.
And he's off to another design, and that's crazy. That's good and bad. That's like a double-edged sword because he's always fresh, and then he's But if you really want one, you got to hop on as soon as he's making them. If not, you're game over unless you can find
that kind of works for him though, right?
Yeah.
I
mean, he's keeping ahead of the curve, really.
Running a business.
And he keeps the knives rare, you know. He doesn't make 500 of them. He makes 15 of them, and so they are rare. And
that's a cool thing too. Yeah, it's good for collectors, especially because you like to have one that's like 1 of 15 instead of 1 of 100, 1 of 200.
Or 15 of 15. Somebody will go own all of them.
Hey, speaking of that, I think the same dude owns 3 daggers of those Arch Nemesis daggers that Brian Nadeau has made. I think the same guy owns 3 of the 5 he's ever made.
Wow, those are expensive knives too, man.
They are.
They are petrifying. I tried one at Blade Show and I almost lost a finger.
Oh my god.
In a good way or a bad way?
In a bad way, in my opinion. I mean, I told him straight up, to his face, I was like, dude, this is not, what? So it's a double-sided blade, but it's a frame lock, and the handle is symmetrical. So if you're not looking at the lock side, if you're looking at the presentation side, you don't even know which side the lock is on. And then if you turn it around and you figure out which side the lock is on, you can't close the knife the way you normally close the knife, because if you put your finger on the back of the blade, it's sharp. And then when you actually get the knife shut by, working your way around using the flipper tabs to get it closed, then you have an exposed edge the entire length of the handle. It's not sunken in that far.
That's kind of scary.
So you have to literally be 100% conscious of holding that knife at all times.
Well, I think that he himself said that it was mostly sort of a showpiece rather than truly meant to be functional.
And that's why,
It certainly does that well, but I can totally understand. That's terrifying.
It's
flipper daggers are just weird anyways. There's a couple of other people that make them. They rarely work. The Hinderer Maximus, it's a flipper dagger.
Well, because you either have to have an exposed edge all the way down the handle, or you have to have a really dumb ratio where the blade is super thin compared to the handle, so it can be
it just wouldn't look right. Yeah.
But anyway, those are the knives that I'm super stoked for 2018. I gotta say, the Bushido that I mentioned at the beginning has been a total stunner for me. I freaking love that knife. And so, I'm just 2018 is going to be a good year for the world of knives. I can feel it. So many cool things are happening right now.
It's going to be so expensive for me.
It'll be so broke. Oh, man.
So, speaking of Nadeau, anyway, Josh, why don't you take us through your top 3?
Okay, yeah. So, like I said, speaking of Nadeau, he's a guy that I've never handled a knife from, but every time I see a knife he makes, I'm just in awe. He is a CNC genius in my mind. That's one thing he really shines at. From what I know about him, he actually used to do R&D on CNC machines as his job. He was the R&D guy coming up with new ways to do stuff with a CNC machine, as far as I know. So
I didn't know that.
I mean, that's what I understand. Yeah. And then he lost his job and he started making knives. So, I mean, that's good for us.
Man, that's tough.
Yeah, that was like 4 years ago, I think. If my memory is serving me right, is when he started like transitioning over.
It's very
So
interesting that you bring him up right now. I literally bought a knife from him today.
I
Yeah.
know, it's amazing. It's
One of
that
these mini
snakeskin pattern, right?
typhoon.
You're
The
getting like a
green mini
green,
typhoon.
yeah, and
That's
that's just like that just goes straight toward his like prowess on a CNC machine, right? It's like how did he get that?
that finish is unbelievable. I can't wait to like get some pictures and get it on video for you guys. It'll be great.
It's amazing. But yeah, so as we know, he's been making all of these weather related natural disaster style knives, the cyclone, the typhoon, mini typhoon, and such.
Mhm.
And so his new one that he's coming out with in 2018 is called the chicane, and it is a Persian style, and it's pretty cool. The name itself, chicane, is a serpentine curve in the road added by design rather than dictated by geography. So right there, that serpentine curve, and he's already prototyping like a snakeskin pattern. Like, can you imagine having like a copperhead chicane Persian knife? It looked just like a serpent.
That would be incredible.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm really excited to see what he does going forward with that design. I really like the Persian look. Quite a few notable people make some really great uh, Persians. Dmitry Sinkovich, he comes to mind. He's got one coming out later that we'll talk about later.
HEA Designs.
Yeah, the Equilibrium, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and that thing looks so freak. I love the harpoony. Like, I love
Yeah.
that design. I've almost
good
bought
knife.
that knife. Yeah, I almost bought it more than once. A green one, actually.
That's what I have.
Yeah, you still have it?
Oh yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, you got to understand, mine's a custom in effect. I did air quotes, but you can't see me. Custom. I had a blue one that had. Well, what color did I buy? I don't know. Maybe I bought like plain tie. For whatever reason, I wanted to trade. I think I bought a green one. It had gold hardware, and I was like, I hate this because gold. And I befriended Sam by writing a review for Knife Informer and making a review on my channel. Both were very extensive, and I convinced Sam. He's like, I don't normally do that, man. I convinced him to send me blue hardware. So I got. Well,
Cool.
actually, he didn't even tell me. He was just like, "What's your address?" And one day, blue hardware showed up, so I rebuilt the knife with blue hardware. So I have the only green Equilibrium with blue hardware, and it's all factory parts.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah, I'm not letting that thing go.
Yeah, so I mean, back to Nadeau, like I said, CNC Genius coming out with this Persian. We know he's going to do some crazy stuff. We've already seen some of it. Frank
I just,
owns some of it.
Since I bought this knife today, I actually mentioned it a little bit because I knew we were going to be discussing this tonight, and it's going to be a nice knife. He said it's going to be a 3.6-inch blade, so a little bit bigger, and it's going to have a pretty awesome inlay pattern that he had showing on there. So
Right, yeah.
it could be really, the potential is awesome. You know, that fit and finish on the inlay looks unbelievably tight, and like kind of reminded me in a sense of Jens Anzo has been putting out those knives recently with those super
Those Neos?
plays. Yeah, those
Yes.
Neos.
Oh my God, yes.
Oh, that's some CNC prowess right there. But
Yeah, he does some good stuff. Like those are the first ones I've seen come from him that I really, really want.
but the chicane in that way reminded me of that model because their inlays look like they're going to be, perfectly fit and like screwed in
Yeah.
backside. So a lot of potential there. That's going to be cool to see
Yeah.
how it comes through.
So yeah, I mean, he is CNC. We're just gonna see him go crazy, and that's why I'm excited about it. Even though I've never handled one, this will probably be the first one I handle because I'm gonna make it a point to get my hands on one. Up next is a knife by Millet, and just to start off, Millet is a company that I either love or I hate them, depending on what knives they've made. They've made some knives that weren't very good. and they've made some knives that were very bad, in my opinion. Speaking of the Booze Blade Arrow V2, that they like put Cerakote over everything, and the Cerakote on a blade, on a flipper, it just kills the smoothness, in my opinion. And it just, if it's not done correctly, and I don't think Millet at the time when they made that knew how to do it the right way, and it really suffered because of that, in my opinion, of course. And they've made a knife with triple aught design. It's called the Dauntless. I think the Prometheus Design Works guy.
Yeah.
I think he is the one that designed it, the Dauntless, for triple aught design. But this one that I got made by Millet is actually a collaboration with G&G Hawk, Grant and Gavin Hawk, and it is a Hawk Lock flipper Dauntless, and it is perfect in every way. I love that knife so much. I wish it was more available, but
Didn't the Shabazz do a video on that guy?
yeah, he did. He's actually the guy, like, when I saw his video, I looked at it and I was like, you know what? I think I need this knife. And seeing him have it is what kind of like, see, everybody's like a bad influence.
Everyone is a bad influence. That's my main objective at this point, is to make other people do what I do.
So I knew it was like a very small limited run. When I got mine, the only thing that was left was the OD Green G10, which I've come to love, but I mean, and then I don't think they're making anymore, which sucks. It's a really good design done extremely well by Millet. But so when I see that, and I see the love people are giving out for the Millet Torrent, their own knife, I have high hopes for them as a company moving forward. And this knife is designed by a guy that is designing a knife where it seems like every company maker, he's almost like the next Tashi. You know, Tashi's got like knives with everybody.
Tashi has knives with everybody, but this guy does.
He does the companies too. And if you guys haven't guessed by now, his name is Elijah Isham, or Isham. Never sure. Isham, yeah. And he's put out knives like the Zeta with Wee, the Eschaton by Wee. He's done some stuff with Browse. He's done some stuff with Fanatic Edge, which is really weird to me.
I have that knife on order. I have the Fanatic Edge Isham design on order.
Yeah, and he's done, so, I mean, he's everywhere. He's done stuff with Jeff with Tough Knives.
Yeah.
I mean, he is literally...
The Black Knight. That was a crazy knife. He's got a very interesting design language, for sure. Very unique.
So this one's the Nostrum, the Millet Nostrum, or Nostrum. I'm not quite sure on the exact pronunciation. And to me, it looks a lot like a Wii Zeta. But one major difference is this one is going to be an integral. And I love an integral. And it looks like, by what I can tell, by the only picture I've ever seen, and it's on Millet's Instagram so far, it looks like it might not be a flipper, which I really like, because the Zeta has a very small, pointy little flipper tab. And Frank, you've had your hands on like a prototype Zeta. Like, how was that flipper tab? Like, how did you?
So the flipper tab, he likes to do that hidden flipper tab. Yeah, and it's
Exactly.
It's a little bit sharp and it's a little bit short, and so you have to give it a purposeful flick, but it does work. It's not the most functional flipper I've ever seen, but it's one of those things where it's like, it's so cool and it's so sleek, you're kind of willing to forgive it that little bit of problem. But I think that the prototype, everyone said that the flipping action was a little bit weak, and I actually said this to Elijah when I published my video on it. He sent me a reply on Instagram, and we talked a little bit back and forth, and he said, do you like it and stuff, and I told him that the detent was a little bit weak. And he said that was something that had already been addressed and should be fixed on the production model. So if the detent is nice, I think it'll be a spectacular knife. It flicked really nicely with the finger flick, and so, you know, I like the design. In the hand, it was pretty comfortable, and it's a beautiful piece. And this Millet Nostrum, like you're saying, is going to kind of be the luxury edition, and I'm certainly interested in that.
Yeah, it's an integral, so can't wait. And I think the funny, like, anytime like I see like a name of a knife that it's like it's just a weird name to me, and I'm not really sure what it is, I always like to look it up. And nostrum is, according to dictionary.com, is a medicine, especially one that is not considered effective, prepared by an unqualified person.
Huh, that's a strange. Really? Is that really what it means?
Yeah, it really is. That's the first definition. There's another one about a scheme or favorite remedy, especially one for bringing about social or political reform or improvement. That one seems a little bit better, but I like to think the nostrum is the first one, just a not a good medicine.
That's really interesting. That is very strange.
Yeah. So anytime I see like a random name, I always love to look up the origin of it. So I mean, it's a funny name. I kind of like it just because of that.
That's
And,
neat. Well, I think an integral is always awesome, and with this design, I think it'll be a lot of fun. So maybe if you get it, you can send it to me for a review or something.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
There you
I'm
go.
waiting to see. I think it's going to come in around. I mean, this is pure speculation, but if it comes in more than like $500, it's going to take a lot of convincing to get me to pony up any extra cash. That's where most knives are coming in at right now. Most of the integrals, except for the full customs.
Yeah.
Everything else, I know Millet's like a smaller company. It might be like 650. I have no idea. But if it's much more than $500, they're gonna price it at an interest for me.
It'll be probably $580 base price, and then like if you add one option, it's $700.
Probably.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that sounds a lot like Millet. I am surprised though. The Torrent was really affordable, $375, $500 for a Damasteel blade. So I mean I don't know.
It was a smaller knife.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I'm just looking forward to it. I can't wait to see what they do with it. I really hope it's a non-flipper Zeta integral, and that it's priced around that $500 to $600 mark.
I hope they do a good job of it. I had sort of a mixed experience with Max Evolution that I recently had, but I'm hoping they do a good job by it because I'm excited to see any integral. Those are cool to me.
Yeah, same. I mean, love those integrals. The next one on my list is by a guy. His name is Spencer Cox, and he is a one-man small CNC workshop, and he's made a couple of knives. I've actually had one of his older designs, and it was when he first got started. It wasn't perfect. It had a lot of issues, but it seems like with every new knife he makes like leap and bounds as far as like progress in his knife making abilities. So anytime I see a small maker that's generally unknown doing stuff like that, I get very interested in their work. So he's had the For Honor 2, which was the one that I had experienced from my friend Mike. He sent it to me to check out. Very nice knife, very nice design. Small issues that he has ironed out from what other people have told me with his next model, which is the Rescate, which is, from what I've been told, it's Spanish for rescue. So I thought that was a really cool name for the knife. It is got like a thumb hole opener and flipper as well, and it's got his really tight pattern that he seems to put, that little crosshatch pattern that he puts on a lot of his knives. I really like that too.
Yeah, Snuggle Bunny did a good video on that knife.
Yeah, so Snuggle Bunny got one, Purvis Blades, he got one, and they both loved it. Purvis made some pocket clips for him like he does with a lot of stuff. Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things coming out of him recently, and he just like recently announced the Workman, which is he's got a bigger one and a smaller one. I know the smaller one's 3.5, but I think the bigger one's like either 3.75 or closer toward 4 inches. And it's really got me interested because it is a Warncliffe sheep's foot style blade, and the lines are super nice. I mean, everything about it just looks great. They come in at like $400. They're, I mean, coming from a CNC shop, he can pretty much do, whatever all these other guys are coming out with. He's really good with his work on that side, on the CNC side.
I think the Rescate, to be honest, looks like a high-end, mid-tech paramilitary 2. And I mean that in a very nice way.
Yeah, I can see that. The one issue I have with his work is his handle to blade ratio is a little off.
That's what I mean. Like the handle's big, and the blade's a little small, and it's got that sort of leafy, pointy para 2 kind of look to it. Not exactly, not exactly. And I mean that in a nice way. Like, it looks like a good cutting tool. It looks well made,
right? Yeah.
I think that he has some real potential as well. I don't think I'm going to throw that much money at that particular knife, but the Workman, like you said, is a little bit cleaner, a little bit tighter, and looks really nice. So I'll be interested to see that too.
Yeah, it looks like he got more of a more handle to blade ratio. He's got a little bit more blade to the handle now.
Yeah.
Like he's starting to get comfortable. Yeah, and I love a good Warncliffe. I love a good sheep's foot style blade, and I'm just looking forward to that one. I think he uses CPM 154. Majority wise, I think that's his go-to steel. And I mean, 99% of the time, that's a great steel. Sharpens easy. Holds an edge long enough. So I'm really excited to give him a shot with that one. I don't know when it's coming out. Sometime soon, I hope. And probably gonna go with it. Really excited about it. As for my wild card, we're gonna talk about Rosenti in a minute, but I really want to see new stuff from Rosenti. He's one of my 2 favorite makers, him and Mike Gavitt of Gavco, and of course that's my other wild card.
Really, you put Rosenti at the top 2 for you?
I love Rosenti. Yeah, I think Rosenti and Gavco. Like, if I had to get rid of all my knives, but from 2 makers, those would be the 2 I would pick. I fell head over heels with a Satori. When I got my first Satori, which is Frank's Satori,
give it back. Sell it to me. Sell me my knife.
I fell head over heels for that knife. Okay, quick story time. I fell head over heels with that knife. I have a buddy that's a knife maker. His name is Ian. He goes by CMF Metalworks, and I've always wanted a knife of his. His knives were the first ones I ever saw that were the high-end luxury knives, and I was like, oh my god, I want one of those knives. After I got that Rosenti, he sent me a message like, hey, if you send me that knife, I'll make you an Argonaut, which is one of his models, the one I first saw. And I was like, I don't know, man. I really like this knife. And we went back and forth, and I sent it to him. And as soon as I sent it to him, within the next hour, I was scouring Instagram, came across a full Damasteel blade, Damasteel clip Satori that I bought. I bought that knife within an hour of trading the other one. And luck, the way it worked out is he decided not to take the knife on as a trade, but I still snuck onto his books for a very extravagant build from him that I'm about to get any day now. Really excited about that. But I ended up with two Satoris, and I have I'm getting one from CMF, not from.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's the Argonaut. So he's still making me an Argonaut, but he sent me back the Satori, and I already had the other one on its way, and I can't get rid of either one of them. So now I've got 2 Satoris, and I'm happy as can be with them. So yeah, I mean.
Well, man, I think you have too many Satoris, and you should probably sell me my knife back. So yeah, I regret selling that. It's a good knife. I regret it now because I have this Nirvana, and I'm absolutely in love with it, and I wish that I had that knife. But he makes good stuff, so I'm going to be talking about him for my top 3 this year.
Right? Yeah, all you got to do is just chain me the Nirvana. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Oh, but I can, my friend. But I can.
Oh, right. Oh man. But yeah, so we're gonna talk about Rosenti a little bit later, but I
Yeah,
wrote
so I
this
guess-
down. I wrote this down about the Gavco before he came out with the Goblin, but he normally makes a couple of new models a year. He always does the one-offs, and he really likes the one-offs. He turns them into a model, so I hope he comes out with something, for Tyler's sake with holes in it, and
Yeah,
doesn't
man, I
have to
hope
have-
you get one. I really hope you get one, Tyler.
yeah. So those are the two that I'm keeping my eye on.
Well, I guess that I'll transition into mine then. My top three sort of high expectations for 2018 in my wild card here. So we just talked about Peter Rosenti, but I wanted to give a little bit more specificity to what's going on. I recently purchased a Nirvana. I had a Satori. I had a Nirvana before that. I love his knives, and I try to talk to him when I can. He's a super nice guy. He's a busy guy, so when I can get him, he's happy to talk about things that he's doing. And he has announced that he's going to be making a small Satori. He's doing that now, and he's going to be doing then a smaller Nirvana. So this Nirvana that I have is going to be the last Nirvana 2.0, which was that 3.75-inch sort of cutting length, almost 4-inch blade, bigger size. He's going to scale it back to be about a 3.4 or 3.5-inch blade, maybe about the size of this small Satori that he's doing. It's going to be an integral, and it may or may not have a flipper. That's still up in the air right now. He's designing it all different ways, so it could be like a hybrid of the Satori and the Nirvana and sort of a new thing. He might call it the 3.0.
That would be cool. I mean, I missed out on all the Nirvanas. You beat me to that one that he posted by like 5-10 minutes. When I saw it, I sent him a message. He's like, "Oh, sorry, somebody already bought it."
Well, it was interesting because I was actually the second in line. When I messaged him, he said, "You're second." And I said, "Okay, well, let me know if the first guy backs out," because for some reason, a lot of people do back out, even though they say they're in. And we can talk about that
That's
another time.
yeah, that's so true.
But in any case, he said he was waiting for the guy to message him back, and then he didn't get back to him, and then he sold it to me. And so I got it, and I was extremely lucky. So,
You two were like a match made in heaven. Like, it was meant for you since you lost your first one. Like,
I'm such an idiot. I hate telling that story because it makes someone even said it makes me seem like a douche that I lost one and then I bought another one. But you know what? I'm sorry. I'm blessed. It's life. I was able to make it happen. Such is life. But, it sucks. I lost one. Maybe you guys have heard that story, but I totally lost it. Now I have a new one, but it's a little bit big, honestly. It's nice to carry. I love a larger knife. My hands are a little bit bigger, so I like a bigger one. But I think if he had a smaller one, and, I'm not sure I need the flipper. I love the Spidey
yeah.
deployment.
You don't need it with that one. That design is like iconic without one. If he makes one with one, I'm not going to complain too much because it's still another chance to get a Nirvana,
Yeah.
But, yeah. I mean, either way, a smaller non-flipper or flipper Nirvana would just be exactly what we need right now, or for me at least.
I'm bummed about the flipper tab. But
I really am, but I'm not going to dwell on it.
Right.
That's my, yeah.
No, I know. But I just feel like he's doing the mini Satori, so that fills your market for people that want the mini flipper. You know what I mean? It's not like he's doing it on the Nirvana because he's only going to make a mini Nirvana. So, I don't know. It is what it is. But I feel like it takes away from the soul. Excuse me, it takes away from the soul of what the Nirvana always has been.
Yeah. And another thing that I just found out, this is about Rosenti, but it's a little off topic. I just recently found out that his fullers that he puts on his knives are very functional in that you can open them with a Spidey flick on the fuller and with the thumb. Yeah, I have a snafu with a fuller, and I was just playing around with it one day, and they totally work. And
oh yeah,
yeah. So a fuller, if he could just do a full fuller
that'd be great.
On a Nirvana.
Well, I mean, the Nirvana's got the hole, though, right?
I know, but what if he did one without a hole with a big fuller all the way down it?
That'd be cool.
I'm just
See, I think a
conspiracy.
Satori would be cool without a flipper tab with a big fuller.
Yeah. But yeah, anyways, Frank, go ahead.
Yeah,
man.
sorry.
Steal your thunder.
Oh no, I'm happy to talk about it, man. That's that's what I was thinking about. I'm excited about having this smaller Nirvana come out. I think that's an exciting thing. So definitely looking forward to that. There's another knife that's coming out this year that I'm not going to be able to talk about, but I will say I'm very excited about it. And then I'm going to move to the next one. There are two new knives coming out from a guy out of New York, Nick Chuprin. Nick Chuprin is sort of a small-time custom maker. He has done some work with a few knife makers out there. Specifically, in my experience, I have the BBM. You guys know that knife?
So nice.
Yeah, so that little BBM, he did a collaboration with Robert Carter. And that was a custom knife there that they did together. And that knife has been really, really special to me. And so he's making two new models this year. He's making a knife called the Valkyrie and a knife called the Ragnarok. These knives are based off a couple of smaller Tanto models that he has. He's been making a knife called the Mark I for a number of years. It started in 2014. And has a very characteristic Tanto blade shape, one that another New York knife maker, Michael Ziba, has been copying a little bit on some of his knives. He said, that may or may not have, been a strange situation. But in any case, the knives are beautiful. So that blade grind, whoever's making it is beautiful. In any case, he's got a 3.5-inch model with that Tanto and then a Warncliffe style blade. And the quality that I see on my BBM has to do with his CNC work. And he's got a CNC machine. I understand he's worked with Brian Nadeau a little bit and learned some secrets from Brian on how to do CNC. So, these secrets kind of get traded between these makers from time to time. He's worked with Rob Carter, Brian Nadeau. He has worked with Michael Ziba. They actually have a collaborative sort of effort on a knife that Michael is producing right now called the it's escaping me right now.
Is it the Bold?
The Bold. So yeah, Chuprin designed the Bold and Ziba is producing it. So
His stuff always Nick Chuprin, he's somebody that you turned me on to, and ever since you've turned me on to him, his stuff is just amazingly well done, like you said, and just distinction.
Well, I was very lucky. Actually, the two folks over at Birdshot IV recently sent me two of their Nick Chuprin knives. They had a Mark I small, and they had a Mark I micro. I think that was what it was called, or mini maybe. And I made a video on it. I'll be publishing that soon. But they're just very, very nicely made. Titanium frame locks basically, but very cool. And they just have this really nice feel to them, a crisp detent, perfect lockup, just well engineered, and they're nice. And at 3.5 inches, it'll be so nice in the hand. The way that it looks, especially that Ragnarok with that Tanto grind that he has, is going to be insane. And I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, the Valkyrie. I just want to see it. Anything that's a Warncliffe like that, coming from him, I can already kind of picture it in my head. And oh man, what would I do for that Warncliffe? Goodness.
Well, I hope you get that so I can see an awesome build of the Valkyrie too.
When I see when it comes out, I mean, it's gonna be like I told you, like I said earlier, it's gonna be expensive. 2018, 2017 was expensive, but 2018 is gonna be.
I don't think the year has anything to do with anything. It's just you're willing to spend more money on knives.
Yeah, suddenly now our addiction is so bad, and we're at this place in our lives where we're suddenly exposed to this. These knives have been here, whether it's Chuprin, Resenti, or whoever. These guys people have been hawking these expensive knives to idiots like us for a long time.
Long time.
That's very,
20 years
very
probably.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so that's my second one that I was really excited about. My third one, I'm going to kind of venture off the custom knife track. I know that we're sort of talking about higher end knives here, but I happen to be something of a ZT fan, a zero tolerance knives fan. Uh, they're sort of high end production to me, and I've really enjoyed particularly owning the 0392 series. I've got 3 of them now. I just think they're really well made. They're as good as plenty of customs that I've ever handled. I mean, they just work. Not every ZT is my favorite, and not every one that they're releasing this year is going to be spectacular. But I got excited when we were planning this episode because they just released 3 new models. The 0609, that's based off the 606 that I actually had both versions of the 606 and made videos on them. I really love that knife because of that pivotless pivot. They're calling it the see-through pivot now. But they're making a smaller version in 20 CV with a 3.4-inch blade. It's got that bronze anodizing. Now, it's not going to be perfect. It's got, that pivot, but they're going to sell a $10 tool to open it. And then it's got some milling on the front for left or right hand carry, which I think was unnecessary and probably foolish, but they did what they did.
As a lefty, I'm left-handed. I'm born and bred left-handed. And I've learned to use knives right-handed now to the point of if I have a left-handed knife, it just feels weird. So I'm going to be honest with you. As a left-handed person, I can say there's no reason at all for there to have a left-handed option, like another side for the pocket clip. My knife goes in my right pocket always. That's like anything they make specifically for left-handed people. It's not really. I mean, left-handed scissors. It's like I don't even get those. Like I couldn't even use them. I'd probably cut myself with them.
That's interesting.
The only thing is pins. Yeah, the only thing is pins. Like the reason why I'm not into high-end pins is usually all those pins are made with like the bolt actions don't work left-handed, in my opinion. But speaking knives, I mean, we're only 10% of the whole entire world population, and I don't think the 90% of the people should worry about us 10%, especially when it's so easy to get accustomed to it. I know that's charged talk, but that's just my experience.
I certainly appreciate it coming from a lefty. So, I mean, I didn't say that, so I appreciate it, man.
Hey, I mean, it's like I said, I feel like I can say it because I am. I mean, I've just, my entire life, it's always been, you always have to conform to the right-handed stuff, and it happens in such a way that when you get something in your hand that's made for a left-handed person, it just feels weird. Yeah. And it just makes the knife
the next knife that they're making is the 0393. That's going to be based off the 0392, and I already mentioned that. I have 3 of those knives. So that's obvious, like, for me, that I'm going to be interested in this knife. What I'm a little bit disappointed in is that they made it with these G10 overlay things, or G10, I don't know, scales? I don't know what to call them exactly. And they made it look like the Maximus on top of the Eclipse, and it just...
no, don't like it either.
Yeah, I mean, come on. And it's G10. It's not carbon fiber. The frame is a little bit thinner, so it's not going to be quite as robust. And I really like that about the 0392s. They really feel like they're built like tanks, like the box says. They feel great. This one is not going to feel the same. The blade grind looks really cool. So it'll be interesting. I think I'm going to be disappointed in it. I haven't even held it yet, but I just have a feeling it's going to let me down because I love the 392 so much. And I'm glad they're making it more widely available, but I don't want them to make it bad so that people don't think the 392 was a good knife, because that was a really good knife. Anyways, we'll see.
It's a Spento, right? Like it's a Spento grind.
It's the Spento grind,
yeah,
right?
That's really the biggest thing that I've seen out of these for me is they've announced that, I don't know for certain, but it seems, what I've read into it, it seems like going forward, all of their knives are going to pretty much be 20 CV. That's what I understood. Yeah, that's what I understood from like the SHOT Show coverage. I think with Blade HQ, he actually said that going forward, 20 CVs are go-to. I like that the knives are based off of custom designs. The 392 is a knife I always wanted but never got, and I never chased one on the secondary.
Right. The secondary
so-
prices are too high.
Yeah, they go
They may come
crazy.
down. They should come down, and we'll see.
A
The other one
Hinderer
is-
made one. I mean, a Hinderer made ZTs like just perfect.
It's a better Hinderer in my opinion.
Exactly. That's what I was
There's a lot of
alluding to.
Make
Yeah.
a lot of people angry by saying that, but I've owned Hinderers, I've owned these ZTs, and I sold all my Hinderers. Thank you. So I'll put my money where my mouth is, and
That's what I was alluding to. Yeah, exactly.
What it is. In any case, the other one was the 462. That's the large version of the 460, based on the Polichotsky by Sinkovich. That's going to be neat. I didn't really want the 460 because it was too small. The 450 was too small for me. So the bigger version will be neat. Not really, probably the one that I'm least excited about. But from what I understand, there may be more ZTs coming out this year. So this may have been this group of three was sort of cool and not cool at the same time, because they announced basically knives that they had already made. The 606, the 392, and the 460. They just had slight variations and 20 CV. So I don't know what to say. We'll see, though. ZT, hopefully they've got something else in store for the rest of the year. But I was excited to see those. I think they'll do well this year. I think people are excited about them.
Yeah, they're really cool designs. I missed out on both the 606 or 0606 and the 0392. I really hope they come up with some names like one day. Like they're just going to eventually drop these numbers one day. I don't think they ever will, but here's to hoping, right?
Yeah, they're like Lexuses. I feel like I'm trying to describe a Lexus or something. You're totally... In any case, my wild card, so he said pick three and then a wild card. My wild card maker this year, I'm going to say, is Dave Curtis. If you guys followed my YouTube channel from early on, one of the knives I kind of had very early on that got some attention was the Curtis F3. I had that bright green one with the carbon fiber inserts, and I loved that F3. It had really nice action. The blade was awesome, this huge hollow grind. Great steel with XHP. It was on ball bearings. Great titanium handle with some good milling going on, and functional clip, so it was easy to carry. It was a very nice knife. But he's been making the F3 now for, 2 years, 3 years. It's been a little while, maybe longer than that even, because he kind of refreshed the F3, and that's when I bought it. So he had it going for a year or two before that even. He's made a couple of other models, but not with any regularity. Of course he has the large, the medium, and the small F3, and then he's got a nano
compact,
and then the ODT flipper. And I would just be excited to see a new knife come out of his mind, because he's got some great CNC skills. He's got some great materials that he works with, and some awesome finishes that he can do. But I would love to see it on a new knife. So maybe we'll see something. I haven't heard of anything, but that would be like really cool to me to see that this year.
Most definitely. Cool, guys. Well, thanks for sharing. Let's go ahead and wrap this one up. We are going to cover a couple of little newsy things. So recently, SHOT Show of 2018 took place. SHOT Show, of course, being mainly a gun show, but that is where all of the production knife companies tend to do their announcements. We spoke about the ZTs earlier. Those were SHOT Show announcements. I'm not so much a production dude. Didn't have too much to talk about. Do you guys have some notes for the show?
Just real quick, I'll give you my big bullet points on what I really thought about it. Benchmade, they didn't really do anything for me. Everything that I saw from them was very lackluster, and that's sad because they used to be a very highly thought of production company. A lot of people still love them. A lot of their older designs are still great, but they haven't really been doing too much. The Anthem, I own an Anthem, and I got lucky and got one that's perfectly centered. And Frank, he had a friend that sent him one that's not. And what sucks about that is even if they send it back, there's nothing they can do to fix it without making a whole new frame for it. Right? Is that what you was told, Frank, on those?
Yeah, man, there's no way to fix that. It's literally that the blade and the frame don't match up, and there's nothing that I could do to fix it. I took the pivot out, I flipped it around, I, did everything I could. There's only the pivot and two screws, so there's not a lot of ability to
Right.
tweak the knife. So I did everything that I could, and it would not go on center. And there's no way to fix it without getting a brand new blade or a new frame. So that's just, it was disappointing. Sorry, Benchmade has been really disappointing to me for quite some time.
Yeah.
So many knives that I get from them have major problems. The first one I ever bought, I bought the 940-1 with the carbon fiber handle 940. And I thought it was the cat's meow because everyone thought the 940 was awesome. But when I got it, the blade edge was rolled. There was a straight burr on one side. It was like not even sharp, and so I had to send it back to them, and they sharpened it for me, and it came back sharp. But the bevels were uneven, and from the get-go. And so I've had quite a few of them pass through my hands, and so many of them have problems, and I just can't deal with it. The funny thing to me is that Benchmade at SHOT Show had people building the knives on the floor.
Exactly.
And I'm like, oh, good.
Yeah.
Now we can see why their quality control sucks so bad.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get it because they're really forward. Like they have like Factory Friday where they show you the factory and all that. I mean, I hope this is the year for them. I mean, they didn't have anything cool come out in my opinion, but if they can really work on their quality control instead of letting the customers be their quality control people, I think that would be the best thing for them. They don't even have to release anything. If the stuff that comes out is like perfect, like all the other companies are doing, a lot of their knives are up to par with ZT knives, and there's very few ZT knives I've ever seen that had real big issues like that. So I mean, Benchmade. Go ahead, man.
It's interesting that you say that you hope it's like the year for them, because the honest truth is that's like saying you hope it's the year for Ford. Like Benchmade's been around for so long, and they've been successful for so long, and they've made good knives for so long that it's almost like
they did.
Yeah, it's
They
almost
just fell
like
off the deep-
if they do fix their shit, then great. But like, I don't mind watching behemoths die to be replaced by new empires. Like, if other companies want to be better, then like, I love that. I love a free market.
They're gonna lose. They're gonna lose a lot of the market share if they don't. I mean, maybe not, but the way I look at it is if they don't get the quality that they're putting out right, it's never going to. I mean, they're not going to recover. I don't think.
I'll put it this way: I'm not going to buy a Benchmade knife in
Me either.
Period.
No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, unless something crazy comes out. I mean, the Anthem only because it was a freaking integral. I mean, it was an integral.
That's enough about Benchmade.
Yeah, let's stop talking about.
I want to talk about the in terms of SHOT Show is what we were talking about. I was really only paying attention to two companies, and that was ZT and Spyderco. I already went through on my ZT spiel there, but Spyderco announced the Paisan, which is the new Resenti Integral. So
And
that
it's
should
got a
be
lock bar insert.
the successor to the Nirvana with a lock bar insert and better finishes and stuff. So that's interesting. That'll be awesome. That one has been a secret for a little over a year now, maybe, and now it's out in the public. So that's awesome. And then they had a knife made by Kevin Smock based on his SK23. I don't really like Kevin Smock as a maker. I've heard a lot of really bad things, and someone that I consider a friend and an avid knife enthusiast is currently having like a real problem where he took his money up front, didn't deliver on the knife. He took more money to expedite the build, and then still hasn't delivered on it after 18 months. And so,
Wow.
Does that guy talk about the good, great, bad, and ugly?
yeah, basically.
Yeah, I've heard the same story, and that's very sad. And that's happened to a lot of people. I've heard.
Yeah, and there's
A lot of people.
when I mentioned this on I don't remember, some form of social media, someone else said that their friend had been waiting for 3 years, and so that's just unacceptable. In any case, we all may be able to get a smock now because Spyderco is going to make it. It's a button lock, compression lock flipper. It looks interesting. It should be cool. And Spyderco is always full of surprises. They're going to have some cool stuff come out this year. I love the way that they use different steels and stuff. I'm excited to see how they utilize steels this year. They're really on the cutting edge, in my opinion, of that kind of stuff. I'm going to pick up a Native 5 Salt just because I want to see what that's all about. You know, I still like some production knives. I'm not totally detached from the production world right now.
So, speaking of being totally detached from production world, I am, and TKI 2018 just went down over this past weekend, which was super exciting. The two big standout makers for me, I mean, obviously all the makers are standouts, but the two that really caught my eye were Shark Knife Co. and Sergei Shirogorov, with a sort of honorable mention for Brad Southard, which, like, the actions on the knives that he brought looked pretty stiff, which is like super not my bag. But some of the CNC work that he did was unfucking believable. And I gotta say, the sort of tri-shaped pivot collar that he did on basically all the knives that he brought, he did slightly different versions. They seem to all be individually made. They were unbelievably gorgeous. Knife to Noya on Instagram, Mika, he picked up the main showstopper, I think, from Southern. So that's pretty cool to see. It's a really amazing looking knife. And then, of course, Shark Knife Co. I have a little bit of a man crush for in terms of loving his knives. I picked his full dress Ryu from New York Custom Knife Show as my top pick from the show, and I would say his full custom Ryu from TKI was probably my top pick for that show too. With 6 Timascus inlays. The guy who won that paid $9,000 for it.
Those guys don't play.
$9,000.
Yeah, and it's funny, if you talk to him on Instagram, he seems maybe to have a little bit of buyer's remorse, if I'm being honest. I think he told one of my buddies, you know, things got a little hectic there at the end.
You know what they say about Vegas?
Yeah, right.
That's just crazy. I mean, that's all those guys.
That show was incredible, and I will totally agree that, you know, Shark Knife Co., Edison Barajas, he makes some absolutely ridiculously beautiful pieces.
Yeah, his fit and finish work is crazy.
I would love to get my hands on one, but for freaking $9,000, that may be never.
Well, the full Timascus frame one that went at New York Custom Knife Show went for $5,300. Things get a little out of hand at TKI, right? It's like when you get, you know, if you get Ralph Lauren and Jay Leno in a room for a car auction, it's like that car's going to go for a few $1,000,000 more than it's worth. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, but yeah, and then Sergei Shirogorov brought just like literally a fistful of showstoppers. The favorite for me was the black and white carbo quartz handled volcanic Damascus pattern blade. Oh my god, that knife was just...
It was Mike Norris Damascus.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, beautiful. It literally looked like he ripped that knife like out of the ground. Like it's oh my god, what a gorgeous piece. But then he had a bunch going on with black Timascus inlays on both 111 models and neons. And he just, like, in terms of my personal preferences, he crushed it. Like, every single knife, except for like 2 were like knives that I would just get on my knees for. Like, I mean, amazing. What about you guys?
Those I like the Shirogorov knives, man. That F7.
The F7 was awesome.
He had a couple of F7s that were just, oh boy. That's it though. That blew me away. I followed some of the TKI stuff, but I know that it's all so far beyond my league that I try not to right now. Like Rexford is there, you know, these big names that cost huge money, and so I just I didn't study it quite as hard as I should have. But the Shirogorov pictures that they put out were spectacular.
With the lottery knives, you mentioned R.J. Martin. I'm given to understand R.J. Martin's knives table price were $1,800 if you won a lottery, and somebody did win one for $1,800 and then try to sell it for $16,000 the same day. So
wow,
don't count yourself out for owning the knives. It's all about getting really fucking lucky and like being able to buy one directly from the maker.
Well, I wonder if somebody bought it.
I'm given to understand he was laughed out of the room.
Yeah, I could see that.
but I don't imagine he will be laughed out of the internet because somebody out there's got a pocket full of cash.
Looks like when you see those Rexford auctions go $14,000-$15,000.
Yeah. Josh, did you have any standouts?
I mean, the way I feel about TKI is if I had all the money in the world and I had like no care, I'd be like bidding on every single one of those and taking every single one of those home. I want the Enzo Neos, I want the Shergarovs, I want the Southards. I mean, everything. It's that one special show that seems like people really kick it up a notch for because they know the people that are coming.
It's like going to a car show. It's like going to a car show where everything is like a Pagani Huayra and a Bugatti Chiron, and like a freaking Aston Martin. Not like the hypercars, you know what I mean?
Yeah. They know the people that are going to be coming there are the people that are going to like really shell out the cash. So I feel like they really step it up, and that's just, oh my god.
Well, you got to remember too, like the community. I mean, the three of us are sort of pretty green in terms of like the existence of custom knives, and you got to remember a lot of these guys that are throwing out around the big money have also been like doing that for 5 or 7 years. And so
I can only do that once.
That's going to be us in 5 to 7 years. We're gonna
I can only do that once. Like if I did that once, like okay, 2018's done. Let's wait the next TKI.
But like the point that I'm making is that there's a very real community, right? If you look through all the pictures from TKI, there's a lot more hugs and stuff than at other knife shows, and like these guys are really. I think the event is more for it's that very in crowd.
They're the 1%ers.
Indeed, they very much are.
We
are getting a little bit long, guys. Let's. The last thing that we had was just to announce that the sort of round 1 of the Holt BladeWorks Spectres have been delivered. A couple of issues with lock rock, which is caused by what appears to be a fairly springy lock bar, but those are being very quickly replaced and solved by the Holt team. So I have no worries there. Frunkey, you sound like you want to say something.
No, that's it. I think my buddy Kevin Cleary just got his hands on one too, so he'll be talking about it. So he's a cool guy.
Yeah,
I've got one on order. Number 89.
My buddy Rich has one, and I've played with it on multiple occasions, and it's very enjoyable. So I'm really excited to get mine back and do the review on that knife. It should be good. And at $495, guys, it's a pretty great buy. It very much sort of is the new Rask in terms of the price point, but it's a lot more readily available because the name isn't known very well. So, Holt was making fixed blades for 17 years and then just jumped headfirst into doing CNC work. He's just now working on the prototypes for the Prestige models. Really cool one with a sort of 78-volt purple anodizing with a Damasteel inlay recently popped up on Instagram. So it'll be really cool to see how they evolve. Josh is in on the round 2. I got a couple other friends that are in round 2. Know about 10 people that were in round 1. It looks like they made 50 knives in round 1 and 60 in round 2. So that seems to be about the pace they're doing is like 50 knives a month. They are doing about a month to 6 week turnaround from sort of when they open up their orders to when things are delivered. So pretty quick turnaround, honestly. I'm pretty happy with that. Do you guys have anything else to say?
I may need to look into them. I didn't have one ordered, but I may have to grab one.
I'm going to say one thing about them. I have never, and like I said, I'm still new. 2017 was my first big jump into high-end knives. But I've never seen a company that literally sends you pictures of every voltage that they can anodize it to. Like it goes from like the 10 volt all the way up to like the greens.
90.
And you can just pick it. Yeah, you can just pick whatever you want. And
I will say, Nick Chuprin did that with the BBM. You could
choose.
I chose that green that I chose. I literally wrote choose anything between 95 and 97 volts, and he was like, "This was just luck of the draw. I just turned it up, and this was the color it made." So he did that. I've seen it a couple of other times, but that's a very nice option.
So, Frank, like what other makers will do oftentimes, and correct me if I'm wrong here in terms of what Chuprin did for you, but like they'll offer you like a range, or they'll say like they'll do like increments, like this will get this color, this will get that color. What the Holts have done is like there's literally 90 photographs
Yeah.
Like every
It's crazy.
individual
Oh, really?
voltage. So
Yeah.
at 10 volts, 11 volts, 12 volts, 13 volts, all the way up to 90 volts is an individual photograph of a fully anodized handle scale.
Oh, I didn't realize they had done that. So I just got with Chuprin just the scale. So there, if you just type that into Google, there's like a picture.
Oh, yeah.
It's a bunch of little titanium rods that are all anodized at those different
Right.
voltages.
So I've always found those Google images and used those to speak with makers or when I'm doing aftermarket anodizing. Now,
Right.
like I sent the whole BladeWorks thing, the Google folder to Jason for Larevo knives when I was working on my ladders because he was like, "Oh my god, this is great." I was like, "I know, right?" And of course, it's different for different titaniums, so it is what it is. But
And they send you a piece of scrap in the color.
So,
Like,
yeah,
hey,
I was
don't-
gonna
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
compound
Really?
on
So
what
awesome.
Josh said.
Yeah.
So if you aren't confident, because colors are different when you touch them with oils and the way they play in the light. If you aren't confident with the color that you're choosing, they'll send you just a clip or a backspacer in that color in the mail for free.
Oh.
Like for you to check out. Their customer service is absolutely the best on the market, hands down.
That's unbelievable. That's very
Yeah.
cool.
So you can be like, I'm not sure. What does 85 volt look like in person? And they'll send you a piece of titanium
Yeah.
in 85 volt so you can check it out. I've already got 3 emails from them, and they haven't even started making my knife yet.
Right? I
So-
mean, yeah, working with them is absolutely fantastic. So thanks so much, guys, for listening. We're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. We are very excited to move into episode 3, a little bit of a sneak peek. I think we're going to be talking about just why customs, what gets you into the world of high-end knives, what makes you spend more than $100 on a knife, more than $1,000 on a knife, what is value, and sort of jump down that rabbit hole. So you guys can find me, TovarishWorks, on YouTube, at TovarishWorks on Instagram, and you can email me at tovarishworks@gmail.com. Frank, where can we find you?
I'm Dr. Frunkey on YouTube. You can reach me at drfrunkey@gmail.com. I'm also on Instagram at Dr. Frunkey. You can send me a message there anytime.
Sweet. And Josh?
I go by Echo Does Knives on Instagram, and if for any reason you want to get in contact with me, you can DM me over there, and we can have a conversation.
Cool. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks to the audience for listening. We definitely look forward to seeing you next time, and we are signing off.